For us, we're transmitting. Thanks for joining us this evening, guys. We are getting started on the WCAC Spectacular here momentarily. Welcome to the basement.
What's up, everybody?
Our Lady of Good Counsel, head football coach, Andy Stefanelli. Welcome, sir. Yeah, we need to have a sound effect.
This is like a
We need to
pregame,
have a
pregame.
clap button.
Yeah.
All right.
No, it's great, Coach. Thanks for coming, man.
Hey, thanks for having me.
We have confirmed there is sound in the basement, so why don't we go ahead and get started? Here we go. Thank you, everybody, for coming to another Tuesday night gathering at First Amendment Sports Basement Podcast Studios, gathering virtually and literally. I'm Ken Marangolo. He's Kevin Ricca.
I'm very excited. Anytime one of the head coaches of the best conference in the nation takes time out of their schedule to join us, it's a big night for us in the studio, whether it be by phone. And thank you very much, Coach, for being here tonight in person.
Thank you.
Tim Strachan.
I second that, and things are starting to get really interesting around here. This is what we do this for, getting down to the end of the season when everything counts, and we're going to have some great discussion with one of the gentlemen that's going to be right in the thick of it.
Running down a dream here, my man.
Hey, did you do that on purpose? That's pretty good.
Thanks, bro.
Is Coach Andy Stefanelli, Our Lady of Good Counsel, head football coach. How's it going, sir?
It's great. Thanks for having me, guys. Appreciate it.
Don't ever leave out Matt the Real Deal Seal, on scene at almost any big ticket WCAC event and almost every other one as well. So
That's
appreciate his insight, his presence. We are finding ourselves coming up on playoff season, not just for football, but for all sports. We will dip our toes in a little soccer water. We have a couple of updates on a few other pitches. WCAC football is coming into its finest home stretch, and it is every bit of it this season. The programs are amazing. The games are compelling. And we haven't shied away from the idea that the national champion is in our conference. The number one team in the nation is in our conference. We had some good action, pre-playoff action. I'm always weary of the last week right before the playoffs, especially when teams are going to play each other for the second straight time and you already know it. But the week before, I think there's still a little spirit left, still a little kick in some teams. Where are we starting tonight, Kevin?
We're going to go with Good Counsel McNamara.
All right.
Friday night.
Friday Night Lights.
It was 31-0 victory for the Falcons. And before I pretend to stare into my weirdo notebook of penmanship, I think we'll let Coach talk on that a little bit more. Let us know how the game went for you Friday night, Coach.
Well, for us, it was kind of a bounce-back game. We had the loss with the Matha the week before, and kids were excited to get back out. It was homecoming, senior night, so last home game for them. So they were ready to play. They wanted to get back out there and kind of prove that we were, we weren't the team that played the week before, that was hopefully an anomaly, and that we'll kind of get the ship straight and get ready for the playoffs. And, we told them, hey, you got to win this game, get in and start the second season. So
nasty weather, though.
Real bad.
Real bad weather. I mean, it must have been tough to be out there and play, coach and try to do the things that you normally do all week.
Yeah, it was wet and cold, and the rain got harder and harder as the game went on. Frankly, it probably played into our favor a little bit. I think McNamara throws the ball quite a bit, and that I'm sure he had to adjust his game plan accordingly. Sure. So we like to run the ball anyway, so it kind of played into our favor, I think. But it was definitely brutal weather out there.
Well, you did chuck a couple touchdown passes.
We did throw a little bit.
Yes.
Just a little bit.
So everyone watches these teams and they come away with a feeling about somebody, and everyone knows. We talked about the bigger names on a lot of these programs. And there's plenty for Good Counsel. When I saw Good Counsel play for the first time, when I got to stand on the sidelines and watch, obviously we know the Cams. Obviously, what Savion's going to do. Right. It's not that you don't know what Luttrell's going to do, but
you love Luttrell, man.
I think he's great.
You should.
I enjoyed watching him play. I enjoy what he does for you guys. And when you say bad weather, to me, I think, well, it sounds like a 35 carry, night for the when the weather gets like that. So, can you, I guess, talk a little bit about your running game, because I know it starts up front, and it's impressive. I think it's fun to watch.
Well, Latrell's phenomenal. He's a phenomenal player. He is what you see. He's big and powerful, but very humble. Just a great kid. At least by example, doesn't like to talk too much. But yeah, he's. We like to feed him the ball. He gets better as the game goes along. Of course, with Savion and a couple of the other guys we have back there, we try to keep some kind of a rotation going because
it's a nasty rotation.
Yeah, it's tough.
Talented kids.
Now, but with every great running back, though, there's big guys up front. And, a lot of the guys that carry the ball get all the recognition, and we talk about them every single week. But please explain some of the guys up front that maybe don't get their names in the paper all the time, but deserve just as much, if not more, credit than what they're getting right now.
Yeah, our O-line is really strong, led by Mason Lunsford, our left tackle, Lucas Portis, right guard. They're seniors, just having phenomenal years. Landon Tangwall, of course, sophomore, gets a lot of recognition because he's a top-level recruit. He's a great player as well. And then Michael Hudron, our center, is just a great story. He's a kid who, kind of just came to GC. He played for me, actually, in youth ball. Sometime he was in third grade. And
RFL.
RFL. Where were you? What was the?
We were the Bears.
The Bears.
That's
right.
Yep.
The Bears.
And played with my youngest son Jack, and they were. He was just always the big kid who, you always saw the potential, but you just wonder if he'd ever, kind of have that nasty streak. And it took to a senior year of high school, but he's got it now, and he's playing great for us.
Right on time.
So those four really lead the way, and then Colin McCarthy's a juniors. The other guard, and he's doing a nice job as well. So.
The Beef Brothers, we've talked about them all season long. So, hey, I'm going to get my 2 cents in here on my guys. Listen, Jalen Green and Julio Ayamel are just, JMU's done right. They know what they're doing. They got some guys that know how to watch some tape. But my question for you, Coach, stems back to my high school days. I played 4 years of high school football for my father. I want you to talk a little bit about young Jack Stefanelli out there making clutch field goals, making catches on ESPN, and being the head coach. Just talk to me a little bit about the dynamic that I grew up in, and trust me, we get along great. We talk to each other every day now. My dad and I were good. So, when the bad times got bad, they did. But I want to hear a bit about from your point of view.
It's interesting because I've coached him. Well, I coached all of my boys, but I coached him since he was very little, and he calls me coach on the field. He just knows the difference, and I treat him like every other player, believe it or not. And at home, I'm dad, and it's all good. And we really don't talk about it. It surprises the kids. We don't talk about football at home. We talk about, maybe the Redskins or something like that, but we're not talking about council football at home other than specific things that maybe what the schedule is for tomorrow, Dad. What's going on at practice? What do we need to bring to school? But we really don't, and we keep it separated, and I think it works well that way.
Now, I spent many nights at Ricka's house. Did that really happen at your house?
We never talked St. John's football.
Really?
We never sat there. No. Listen, you want Therese Ricka getting in your business?
Well, no, that's true.
No, I didn't think so.
That is
true. And that is what kept that relationship the way it was. That it was very important for that separation. I like hearing that because there's not a lot of guys I could have that conversation with. Someday I'll talk to young Jack about this. And
it's just interesting what his perspective is.
Without a doubt.
I think you'll be extremely pleased with what you're about to hear. This is what we get every single week. We'll turn down the music a little bit, and every single week we get the enthusiasm. We get a little injection of love.
Mustangs and Falcons. Falcons, you better slow them Mustangs down.
I guess I'll use some Continental.
You know what? That actually sounded really good.
It actually did sound really good.
The boy can sing. I've heard this once or twice before. He can carry a note.
Damn.
Gentlemen, good evening. Good evening.
Good evening, sir.
As always.
Tim, good to have you. We got the coach of the Falcons sitting right here at the poker table, my man.
In person.
Stefanelli, good evening, sir.
Tim, how are you?
Very well, very well. Excited about this playoff run we're getting ready to make.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so Tim, I do owe you some Continental. You and T can argue about whatever you guys' bet was. So congratulations. My first question for you, Tim, is what are your thoughts about the other top? I want to ask you, the fan, who do you want to play the most in the WCAC come postseason time?
Nobody is a safe answer.
No, of course, I know. That's why I'm not asking Coach this. I'm asking our super fan correspondent.
Well, it's always nice to play all those teams, and it's nice to beat all of those teams.
Mm-hmm.
So honestly, I can't speak from personal football experience, so I'll just have to put that out there. But I'd like to play Gonzaga again and beat them again, just to put those guys in their place for the playoffs.
Okay, all right.
And then see St. John's in the championship. But I don't know if that's what's in the cards, so I guess we'll have to see.
Of course.
I always enjoy putting a Gonzaga guy in his place from time to time. I'll agree with that.
Now listen,
there's plenty of them in my.
We love all you Gonzaga guys.
Listen, I'm not going to argue with what anyone's saying here. But to be fair,
right before I showed up.
To be fair, Jeff Clay is not on the line right now, and Gonzaga doesn't have a foot to stand on. So let's understand that that's the case. And
we shouldn't gang up on them.
No. And everyone can gang up. Hey, if I'm not here, I know you guys be ganging up on me. Look, this is how it goes.
True.
We always talk about this conference and the brotherhood. Like, we can chirp at each other, but when another conference comes at us, we go side by side. And when we put a resume down on the table, and we understand where we come from and how we play ball around here.
We hang out in the front porch, not in the back porch. The front porch. You know that. T, you know what I'm talking about.
I hear you, brother.
All right, what do you got for us, Tim? Where are you coming at us for your good counsel coverage this week?
The game certainly was one-sided, and as Coach Stefanelli can attest to, it was cold and rainy all night. It was a miserable night, but it was certainly good counsel's night. And McNamara got the ball first and got a couple first downs up the middle. I guess they got a pretty decent back that's kind of quick.
Yeah, they can move the ball.
But Good Counsel shut that down pretty quick, and Good Counsel's first play from scrimmage, Latrell Palmer took it straight up the middle for 68 yards, and he really showed a speed burst that I wasn't exactly sure he had, but I certainly saw it on that play.
I told you he was fast.
Ran away from their defense, and it was impressive. But there was a
It's
lot
a fast
of
defense to be running away from.
There was a lot of penalties in this game, and I'm sure that was driving the coaching staff crazy. So that, Latrell Palmer had a touchdown called back early also after that one. But the council, was pretty much dominating the defensive side. Jalen Green had a fumble return for a touchdown, which put them up 14-0, 17-0 at half. But Latrell Palmer all day had numerous long runs and several called back. I mean, it was like, what the heck are these guys trying to do? Being it cold and rainy, let's get this game over with. But, Good Counsel on their side, and I know this is going to be a frustration, a lot of quarterback exchange fumbles, and they were rotating a quarterback in there, I believe. So there was a lot of snaps on the ground. Good Counsel lost a couple of those, got a couple of those back. I think one time the quarterback picked it up and ran for first down. But I know that's going to be a concern in the next couple of weeks. But luckily, with a bye this week going into the playoffs, that certainly bodes well for preparation with football.
And no more monsoon season might help out. I've taken a few of those snaps in that weather, and that ain't no fun. Especially when your center's one of your best friends. It's tough.
Well, Coach, how upset can you get in a game with those types of conditions, because you know that it's going to be difficult from time to time?
Well, it's always frustrating, and you never like to see the ball on the ground. So, but kind of going into the game, factor that we had both of those kids were backup players, the quarterbacks playing. One was a freshman, first varsity game ever, and so we kind of expected that it may happen. You're hoping it doesn't. Yep. And rotating them didn't help, but I wanted to get the freshman, just don't want to get his feet wet, so to speak, and get him in there. And so just said, hey, I'm not a big platooning quarterback type of guy, but for this game we thought it'd be a good way to get them both playing and keep them in the rotation. I didn't want a quarterback sitting around for a quarter, then throw them in there, and the odds of a fumbled snap are even greater. So
absolutely.
How about penalties, though? Are they excusable?
Never. The penalties are never.
I knew you wouldn't. I knew you wouldn't bite on that.
Are you foreshadowing?
Oh, no. Yeah, we're going to talk about that coming up.
Tim, you got a question for Coach?
Coach, how do you guys feel about the next 2 weeks going into the playoffs?
Well, a couple things. We really feel the bye week's coming at a good time for us. So we're been banged up going into this tough stretch.
That is a bit of a luck of a draw right there.
Yeah, just we knew going in we played a tough, I call it a preseason, but the out of conference schedule, and then going into the stretch there, it was going to be tough. And then you get more beat up playing those guys. So we need a break. I think mentally the kids really are benefiting from a little time away, and but we feel pretty good going into the playoffs. It's going to be tough, but that's what we signed up for. So we're excited.
It's a good bye week to have.
Oh, it's great.
I mean, that's
you couldn't ask for anything
No,
better. They're gonna obviously switch that up going
I think
forward.
It's 2 years. Every 2 years.
2 year thing.
Switch. Yeah, you know how us coaches are. When you get it, you're like, "Oh, why
That's
did we get the last
sweet.
week?" And
Yeah.
Then you're like, maybe it's not so bad.
yeah, maybe right. There's a little silver lining there.
Right.
I think it's working out pretty good.
Yeah.
I think it's pretty good timing.
It is.
Tim's going to bring the entire team Continental. I heard souvlaki subs.
Oh.
No, is that right, Tim?
The whole team souvlaki?
Chicken
15
souvlaki.
minutes. Doesn't matter how many souvlakis. That's 15 minutes, man.
Well, so Tim, you got any parting words of wisdom for us this week as we go into a bye week for your boys, but the final week of WCAC?
Well, as I had always liked to direct attention back to the games of the week, even if we're not playing, are we picking scores for SJC Gonzaga? I know that's a discussion to be had.
Absolutely, we are. We'll let you lead it. We'll
You can give yours.
you give yours, and then we'll preview
and
it.
then we won't reference it when we do it. At the
Yeah,
end.
and then we'll cut it up in post, and we'll edit it together as if you gave it to us like during that part of the show. It's going to be amazing.
I wrote this down an hour ago, and I sealed it in an envelope. I'm going to open it up right now.
Open up the envelope. Are there accountants in suits sitting next to you?
He's actually open.
He is
I've got a
opening an
justice
envelope.
of the peace here, who has just given me the okay. I think I'm covered. St. John's 45, Gonzaga 3.
Oh,
What?
This
Boy.
is going to be
gosh.
an absolute
Yeah, well,
thrashing.
you just made Gonzaga and St.
Yes.
John's
And
furious with your
You
presence.
just made Coach Stefanelli wince.
That's
Yeah.
Tim Reddy, everybody. Appreciate.
I have to call them like I see them.
Yep, I like it.
The St. John's team is just so talented. In high school, you try to stop one guy if you can. You do that with St. John's, and it's like, okay, we got 3 more guys we're going to use behind him. So who do you got? I think it's just going to be too much for Gonzaga. I think their defense is going to overwhelm Gonzaga's offensive line. And I love that guy at quarterback. He's my man, but I think he's going to have a tough day, and he's going to be running for his life. So there you have it.
All right,
Coach Stefanelli just slipped me a note that says, make sure it's known he's not the official spokesman
Yes.
of Our Lady of Council High
Absolutely,
School.
Coach. Absolutely.
That's a fact,
Have
but
a great evening, and as I always say, ooh, Falcons on fire.
That's awesome.
That's a little
all
flavor
right,
we
my
get.
man.
Tim
every week,
Reddy.
Coach.
All right.
Very talented.
Isn't it? Yeah, he was a heck of a player back in his day. He was a tight end, defensive end kind of guy. He was a super player. Went on to Shepherd and became Hall of Famer there. Appreciate his input every week.
And a music major, apparently. Yes.
We had another game in the WCAC.
See, there was another game
was
this
there another
weekend,
game?
wasn't there?
I'm
Another.
trying
Well, Coach has got to go, so I mean, I thought we were wrapping this up.
Oh, we just want to wrap it up.
Yeah, I thought we were done.
Just keep moving on.
Okay, we can talk about
we can wrap it up.
it. We can talk about it.
We can cover this one pretty fast.
Hey, just like Coach and Tim referenced, a miserable night in the metropolitan area on Friday night, which caused for, hey, it's football. You got to learn how to win a million different ways, and I've said it all year long. I think the cadets have learned to win a million different ways, but that DeMatha defense had no quitting them. There's
there's no
physical
learning from a game like that. As Coach was saying, there's going to be mistakes made, at least physically. Okay, the conditions were ridiculous. Both scores for St. John's came off a turnover inside DeMatha's own territory. I believe average of 30 yards start going in. So, but they fought hard, and in my opinion, the weather largely eliminated a lot of the talent on St. John's side of the ball. So I think this is a completely different game in good weather. I don't know how different, but it's definitely a different game because I think that a lot of the athletes were eliminated due to the conditions on both sides of the ball, but certainly on St. John's side.
Well, a lot of elimination occurred due to defensive prowess. It was
awesome.
It was not a game for the meek. I'm going to say St. John's had their best defensive day of the year. Marshawn Lloyd held under 50 yards with over 20 carries. I mean, he's one of a few 5-stars in this league. We talked about the young tackle at Good Counsel himself, and those guys are just super talented. But I want to say this as a St. John's fan, everyone should have a friend like Ron Cook. A guy, Mr. Dependable, a guy you can call at any hour of the night, and he's going to show up. Someone you can always hang your hat on, and no matter what happens, whether it's mid-season up in St. Louis when he has a 97-yard kickoff return, a touchdown reception, and a long run in one half that helped us sneak one out up there. Second year in a row, he's come out against DeMatha with no Keelan Robinson, no Keelan on the field, and that would have been a good deal for St. John's having Keelan. But like I said, everyone should have a buddy like Ron Cook. 3 touchdowns against DeMatha last season in the same scenario. He came out this week, 2 touchdowns, the only 2 we had, and 117 yards rushing. Man, there's no more underrated than him. He might not be a 3-star, 4-star, or 5-star, but he's a superstar. And anyone I think Coach would attest to that. He's seen him on tape. The kid just goes and gets the job done. And he put the program on his back the other night until the defense had to take over. And I'm telling you, there were some performances out there that it was, they're, from what I understand, it's called the Standover in Landover, one of the greatest goal line stands in St. John's football history. It's something I've never seen before.
And you made the joke about the penalties earlier that I asked Coach Stefanelli about. I had never seen more penalties on one team. And I'm not saying that the referees were even picking on them or anything like that. It was just absolutely amazing how many chances DeMatha had within the 5, much less on the 1. And still weren't able to get it in. That was awesome to watch. It was awesome to watch. It was the way football was intended to be played. It was physical. It was awesome. It was awesome. Unfortunately, DeMatha came out on the bad end of that one.
I don't know if you guys didn't get a chance to see it, if we did, but 8 plays inside the 10, 4 plays from the 1, and somehow that the ball didn't cross the goal line. And like you said, 15 penalties to 2. Now I'm going to tell you right now, we earned 11 or 12 of them. There's no doubt. I think a few more might have been earned on the other side, and there's a few that went one way or another, but that doesn't matter. This is what it is. This is high school football.
Look, the 2 biggest mistakes made in the game were by DeMatha, dropping it in their own territory, and St. John's taking advantage of a short field.
Yeah.
St. John's is so talented, you can't give them a short field to begin with. But all around, with the conditions and everything like that, it was an absolute joy to watch these 2 teams go after each other the way they did.
Well, the guy I had a great time watching is Tremon Morris Brash, senior, number 33, defensive end. And then, man, that 4th drive, he was the guy that pretty much was a human wrecking ball. He was nasty all day long. He wasn't blocked. He was an absolute beast. Got a shout out, Trey Williams, Tyze Johnson on the last play on the goal line stand. Greg Hudgens met Marshawn Lloyd at about the 8-inch line, and they came down together at about the 6-inch line. And then I think that was it. At that point, the offensive line took over. They pretty much ran out the clock. I think DeMatha only had 10 plays in the 4th quarter on that final drive, ending with Tremon Morris Brash sack fumble. St. John's recovered. It was another 16-round heavyweight WCAC physical, just mauling.
Terrible weather.
Yes.
It was one of those games that the old school guys at the Knights of Columbus were digging it.
I'm sure.
I'm sitting there waiting for a little ball to fly through the air, maybe
well,
a big play.
Because that's what St. John's, that's where
yeah.
I think they have an edge over DeMatha, and that's why it's going to be, I think, a lot different in a good weather game if they were to meet each other again. But some of the standouts on DeMatha stood out too on both offense and defense.
No doubt.
Ellums, Nick Cross, everybody stepped up.
Mm-hmm.
It was an enjoyable game, and unfortunately for the weather, but at the same time for
hey, Coach is digging that weather. Coach, you said, listen, give me rain, give me hell and high water.
We loved it.
I mean, if you're playing a team like St. John's, who has a lot of weapons, you've got to figure the bad weather's your friend.
I think it certainly helped out DeMatha in this case to keep it close. The unfortunate fumbles, again, it would have been different, but it would have been different if any play changed.
Sure.
It wasn't just one play. It's going to be interesting to see how this thing really shakes out here in the next few weeks.
Yeah.
Well, let's of course I'm going to pick my boys and pull for my boys in the season finale.
As you should.
And hopefully, DeMath is not looking past them to the playoffs. But there's a big game, an old school rivalry game, being played on I Street this week.
Yes.
Kevin, what do you got for us?
Yes, it's. This is
Oldest rivalry in Catholic high school.
This is what we say. Now, there's some discrepancies out there. There's some people that might argue, but what I know, what I've been taught and raised from
it's the
gentleman
oldest.
older than I am, is the oldest Catholic high school rivalry in the nation. And today, just going about town doing errands, I saw a handful of people in Gonzaga hats, handful of people in St. John's hats at the grocery store having conversations. It's St. John's week. It's Gonzaga week. It's the week. This is what.
Well, it's the equivalent
what we do.
in our other football world of Redskins Dallas. I mean, it goes that deep. It has that kind of history. I can remember being a kid. All three of my older brothers went to St. John's and watching the cadets, doing their marching thing and. Going and putting. I mean, with my mom, my dad, and my brothers going to toilet paper our best friend's house.
Sure.
The O'Connells, on the night before.
You're a maniac, dude.
Stuff like that. I mean, that's what.
Yeah.
That's where we are coming
the
from.
signs.
Doing this stuff.
I've been on a few of those, and it wasn't
Absolutely.
any fun. I know that you got the Gonzaga passing attack, and hey, man. Coach, this quarterback can score on you from anywhere on the field, man. Right? I mean, let me know.
Question.
Yeah, it's
a great looking throw.
He's a great player.
Yeah,
Great player.
Yeah, he is. He makes you defend every inch of that 100 yards, and But St. John's has guys. With Pat Ward this weekend, he made me say, hey. He didn't make me say. He said DeMond Otter played his butt off last weekend. St. John's is going to rely on their bigs up front. St. John's is going to be 50-50. Gonzaga's going to go back there. They've got, what would he say at one point, 8 to 10 touchdowns out of 11 from 45 yards or beyond.
Yeah.
I said their red zone is after they return the kickoff for the punt. They're in the red zone. And, they settled it down against McNamara, got the running game going, and that got that little started up, and then had their little bye week, and now they're ready. So their bye week is before the Cadets. Good Counsels is before the playoffs. St. John's was before DeMatha. So everyone has a bit of a competitive advantage if you want to look at it that way. But I know not every coach looks at it that way. Like you said previous to when you saw it, you're like, what the heck? How about that? But that's just how it is, and we understand every 2 years. This St. John's Gonzaga game is something else, and I've loved being a part of it, being the water boy, playing in it and coaching in it, and now being a fan. It's been something that I've really embraced. It's a mostly respectful rivalry all the time, most of the time. Mm-hmm. So, that's another thing. Worrying about penalties in that game. That's going to be both coaches' concern. Worrying about not having someone thrown
penalties,
out before
turnovers.
the playoffs. Now, there's a competitive advantage, Coach. You can't get anyone thrown out before the playoffs now. That ship has sailed since last
targeting
week.
calls and stuff like that, too.
And you remind them, I'm sure the coaches, St. John's Gonzaga, reminded the kids that all week. You cannot get thrown out.
And you can say it till you're blue in the face, right? Yeah. You still got to cross both fingers, flex up those bike coaching shorts, and hope to God that not one of your studs is heading into the playoffs standing next to you on the sidelines.
Does bike still make the official coaching shorts?
There's some people watching this that have no idea what bike coaching shorts are.
Yeah, we're Under Armour guys over here.
Hey, we must protect this house. But underneath,
the old school pair of bikes. I know exactly what you're talking about. The old school bikes. You had a pair of bikes at some point in time. Come on. Oh,
back in the day, 80s, maybe.
Had a bike helmet.
All right, fair enough. Hey, Christmas list, everybody. Who needs a pair of bikes?
Hey, throw one in for me for old school style. It'll be retro here in about
Extra
5 years.
small
Under Armour bike shorts. That's what we got in the style of the.
Oh, that's going up on the site. We got when we do our First Amendment sports swag, the old school coach shorts. All right, so let's do some predictions. Now, do you being in your bye week, we don't want to put you on the spot, but do you have any thoughts on the game that between these two programs?
It's interesting because they're going to play again in a week in the playoffs. So, be interesting to see kind of what they want to show. It's tough. That's a rivalry game, so they both want to win it badly. I think because of that, it's a toss-up. Even though maybe somebody say St. John's is obviously the top team, Gonzaga's really, really good.
Yeah, nothing matters in this rivalry. I know that.
Yeah, so I'd say toss-up game, really.
My question for you, Coach, about this game, sorry, real quick. This is what I've been thinking about all day, and I'd like to have someone who's actually in the mix. If you're going to play the team back-to-back weeks, wouldn't this kind of be the week to maybe unleash a few tricks out of the bag that maybe, you just want to get on tape, maybe have them have to prepare a little longer for? Maybe you feel a little more comfortable because it's not an end-all, be-all situation, or am I just,
two schools of thought. One is that you put it out there so they have to prepare for it, and then the other is you don't want to show anything and save it. So I don't know. I don't know how those guys will approach it, but I think a lot of guys would probably hold it unless you really need it.
Mm-hmm. I'd like to think that more thinking goes into the second game than the first game. You want to get the win first. Do what you normally do. Don't do anything different. Win that game, and then realize if you're playing them again the next week, that's when you got to maybe have the thought of some wrinkles and stuff like that. That's the way I would see it.
That's probably how I would approach it. But I think it's such a big game, and if you win that game, if you're Gonzaga, that's does so much for their fan base and their alums. It's a big deal.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
Especially they're hosting it on site this year.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. It's
home and home.
Yeah.
And here's the deal: this is only the 5th time in this rivalry's history that the two teams have played back to back. Obviously, since the playoffs started, but since 2001, both these teams have played 4 separate times going into this time. Only once has the same team not won twice. Wow. That was 2016.
Wow.
When Kasim Hill, Maryland's starting quarterback, who's doing a heck of a job. Another great guy to have coming from this conference, leading us locally through this tumultuous season for the Terps. They lost in the regular season. St. John's laid an egg, came back, and Kasim put it on his shoulders and won the game at Gonzaga. So that's crazy to me. So, and then the scores seem to go high scoring, 37-24 down to 10-7, 34-14, 3-0. So that second week seems to be when no punches are pulled, and the games got super tight. Can't wait to see what happens this week. Can't wait to be a part of it.
Matt, you want to give us our first score prediction? Besides Tim Reddy's?
Well, Tim Reddy, nobody's going to top him. So let's go St. John's 24, Gonzaga 20.
All right, 24-20.
Tough battle. Maybe the last possession wins the game. We'll see. Interesting.
T?
So I actually think, having seen both teams play, knowing Coach Travers in terms of how he was talking last week, I think that guy's a no-nonsense, all business guy. He's going to have this team ready to go, and I think it's going to be a really interesting first half. I even think that Gonzaga could possibly have the lead going into the halftime, but I think St. John's puts it on like they usually do in the second half, and some of those playmakers are just not going to be able to be contained for an entire football game. And I think eventually that St. John's pulls away. It's going to be 31-17 St. John's.
The one thing I think about this game is, since I didn't go to either of these schools, and I feel like I can say this kind of objectively, and that is, I think St. John's is chasing something that's a little bit bigger than the rivalry this week. I think it's keeping them focused in an interesting way. I do think that they are going to be in the conversation for the best team in this country, the number one team at the end when it's all said and done. Potentially, some guys from opposing schools are going to have something to say about that in the playoffs. But you play each other. You want to win the WCAC, and that happens at the championship game now at Catholic University, Kevin.
Yes.
On Sunday, November 18th. That's when that happens. And you don't win the WCAC this week, and you want to be good for the playoffs. And I think that can shape a lot of coaching decisions any other time. But there's more at stake here for the St. John's program, and I think that's interesting.
All right.
As a fan, and on the flip side, I also think that it's cool. Now I didn't play football at McNamara, but we got to come home and play on the field at McNamara after a couple years of playing at a field away. After this being soccer, and it was a big deal. The students were there. It was on our campus. It was awesome. And I just got to think that there's going to be something extra running through their veins too.
Could be hostile.
Yeah, and I think that's cool. And so,
without a doubt, I think that Gonzaga is known to have a great student section.
Yes, they absolutely
the most
are.
Engaged. No offense to any of their student sections. This is historic too. I mean, this goes back a long time.
And I think that matters,
in my opinion. And it's going to be an incredible environment.
So I'm going to go. Do you want to talk before I give my?
No,
prediction?
you go right ahead. I just I have to say it.
I know.
Nothing is bigger than this rivalry.
I understand.
And I'd appreciate where you're heading with all this,
Yep.
but nothing is bigger than this rivalry. It's like Bono said from U2. They said, "Why did you move from the neighborhood you grew up in?" He said, "What was I supposed to do? Get a big house on the hill?" I know 20 guys that would have gone into there and taken everything. If you got it, they want it. And guess what? If you think St. John's has the number one ranking, no one would like to take that from them. Well, it's
exactly.
tied between the other three. But on this day, on this Saturday, yes, that's the case. I'm just saying that's,
No, this is
chasing a
generations.
mythical
This is a
national championship to me has
game.
nothing to do with anything.
This game
has
has generations.
something to do with beating Gonzaga.
Fair
and
enough.
Walking around for a week at Safeway and winking at people with a little hop in your step as you
Understood.
pick up a couple ho-hos and some Doritos.
And I that's why that's why I love this show. These are every single thing is relevant and matters, and it goes into a high school game that more people care about than just St. John's and Gonzaga people. If you care about high school football, it's a big deal for a lot of reasons, and you don't have to have gone to either school to appreciate some of the really cool aspects of this matchup. To me, my mind is just kind of blowing up about these guys playing each other back to back and knowing it. I'm
about to go Sam Kinison on you.
I think St.
Say
John's
it.
wins by a point.
St. John's wins by 1 point.
Yeah, I'm going to say like 22-21. I just think it's going to be, and I'm not saying it's going to be at a buzzer beater, but I think it's a close game for all those reasons, and I think St. John's comes out at the end.
22-21 is an odd score.
It is,
Yeah,
and because something weird is going to happen in this game. I don't think it's going to be a game where you just go and you see a running back.
I
running
think
in
something
extra
weird is
point.
going to happen the next week.
Okay.
I think not having gone against each other yet. I just think St. John's going to pull away. I think it's next week.
Okay.
Where some of the weird stuff's going to happen.
So is my prediction?
Yep.
My prediction is that you guys are predicting weirdness, and I know that something weird happens down here pretty much every Tuesday.
Yeah, of course.
Usually it's pre-show. Tonight it was a tad bit of that pre-show.
Yeah, Coach had an experience.
And seeing as it, it was. I'm just going to go right to the prediction.
Yeah.
37-20 Cadets. That's my feeling. I think Gonzaga is able to move the ball and score some points. I think what's happened in the last few games against Gonzaga is that D-line has worn that offensive line out by the second half. I'm not saying this year. I'm saying in years past. So last year, I saw young Caleb Williams take 1 million hits in the regular season, and I saw how that affected him as the game wore on. And there are some super stud athletes. Gonzaga's O-line is huge. In every game in the WCC between these four teams heading to the playoffs, the battle's won at the line of scrimmage, and may the baddest team that day win.
Yep.
Well said. Coach, we're going to do a quick whip around of some of the other games in action across the WCAC. Why don't you take us there, Matty?
Little Metro Conference wrap-up from last week. Archbishop Carroll and Ireton battled on Moss Collins Field. It was a little sloppy. I think that's one of the last natural grass fields left in the area. Didn't matter. They still played ball down there. Carroll put up 50 points. Ireton.
All right.
13.
Wow.
O'Connell stepped out of conference, went down to Fork Union and lost a nail-biter 12-7. The game of the week was down in Southern
Interesting
Maryland.
game of the week.
The
St.
Hawaii
Mary's
of the
Hurricane
WCAC.
played host to the Paul VI Panthers.
Shout out Ken Mangola.
And Paul VI went down there and laid a 27-point thrashing. However, Riken put up 24. So they are most likely your two championship contenders. However, going into this weekend, the Archbishop Carroll Lions might have something to say about that. They're going to travel down to Riken on Friday night. O'Connell will travel over to Paul VI in a rivalry game. However, both of those sets of teams will meet in 2 weeks for the playoffs as well. So it's a decision of what are you going to show this week.
Oh,
as
there's
opposed
still
to
some work for
next.
Paul VI and Riken to get where they got to go
That's
in that
absolutely
conference.
right.
Southern Maryland and Northern Virginia. That's an interesting dynamic
Yeah.
in the WCAC we got going on this week.
So those will be two interesting scores to see, as well as what we just wrapped up as well. So I'll hand the mic back over to Coach.
Real
here.
fast, though, we'll go out on football, but we also have soccer playoffs
It's a
and
preview
championship
here.
coming up. So Catholic University is hosting this week the WCAC soccer championship. We had playing last night. My boys, McNamara, lost to Paul VI, who went to St. John's today.
And pulled off another upset
And won, so
on Military Road. They beat the Cadets.
That's so fun. I mean, obviously, it's you put on the pads and hit each other in practice, every day. But to be able to play back to back to back, games, and the only way you can do that, obviously, is you got to start to play in, and you got to move your way.
That's right.
And good teams are waiting for you. In this case, the team of the moment in the WCAC is the Heights. Head coach Colin Gleason, shout out. We're going to have him on this show. Awesome program, nationally ranked. I want to say. The last I heard, they were 42, but with a bullet, nationally. So good for them, and we expect to see them.
They beat Carroll in the quarters today.
Okay.
3-0. Good Counsel pulls off an upset over DeMatha 3-1.
There you go.
And Gonzaga and O'Connell are actually playing right now down on Buchanan Field.
Now, on your bye week, where was the Good Counsel game played?
I believe it was at DeMatha.
At DeMatha. Okay, yeah, because it was an upset. Yeah, because DeMatha, I believe, was higher seed.
Yes.
You got to get the boys out behind those Falcons soccer players. I thought that was the coolest thing. And of course they have a bye, so it's possible. But when our programs matched up on off days or practice days, and you could see a whole team would be in the stands, soccer for football or football for basketball or basketball for soccer, and it's cool. Good for the Falcons. And you get a chance to check out some of the other. Oh yeah, I forgot he doesn't. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, no, that's great. I mean, that's about the community and the kids love to go support the other teams, and we organized some stuff for our football players to go. We did a girls volleyball game this year at St. John's, and we try to get down to soccer games. And as much it's hard in season, it's the hardest because we're practicing so much.
Oh yeah,
games being played off season is a little bit easier, but
sure.
It's great to see when the kids go. And, shout out to Jeremy, our head soccer.
There you go. Yep. Big win. Always, hey.
Well, I wouldn't.
Always love to see the Stags take down. Maddie, we have volleyball and field hockey as well.
We have some girls soccer.
Girls soccer.
Report back. Good Counsel was playing Paul VI. I don't know if you had a score on that.
He's got his
It's a good time not to have a mic in hand.
Right? So we'll get a score for that. St. John's beat Ireton 2-1.
Okay.
O'Connell and Seton were playing a late afternoon game, and the Bishop McNamara Mustangs 2-1 winners at Riken. So the Lady Mustangs will advance to the semifinals of the soccer.
And I don't think they're going to be the favored team by the end, but they do have some good players, and the girls soccer program's coming along nicely at McNamara.
And we're waiting for some field hockey scores to come. And St. John's was up big on Seton, and Ireton was up on Paul VI. So we'll wrap that up on next week's show as well.
Defending champions. So I think the volleyball defending champions, I believe that's Holy Cross.
I believe that's right.
And I think the defending field hockey champions is St. John's. Okay.
Correct.
We're gonna come out. I'm trying to. We got to keep it all straight. We are your
Thank
home
God for you two.
for all your WCAC.
You should see what I've been drawing over here.
Yes, that's right. And we will. That's no,
much respect and love. I'm listening.
Oh, yes,
I love
yes,
all
yes.
of this. I just think I'm a little too hyper focused. I got to expand my brain. All right.
We're gonna bring it back. All right, so Coach, we're gonna get you out. We're gonna get out of this WCAC spectacular. We're gonna remind everybody that I'm aiming for next week. If you're hanging with us, we're going to try to switch over to YouTube in the next 6-7 days. That's going to be where you're going to watch our live broadcast of the semifinal on Saturday, November 10th. That's where you're going to watch the live broadcast, First Amendment Sports, of the final on Sunday, November 18th. And so we want to be doing this show on that same platform. It's a free subscription. Please give us a subscription. You'll be able to follow all of our programming.
Tell your friends. Tell your mom. Tell your mom.
After 1 month, you're not going to get a $9.99 bill on your thing. If you got it back. And about 13 months from now, we would have saved you $130.
That's basically. There you go. I mean, we're saving you money just by tuning in.
Although there's a great service provided. I'm not going to argue, but free. Hey, free on YouTube Live. Let's do it.
It sells itself. Really, the service sells itself. So, Coach, thank you so much for joining us tonight. I wanted to get you out on some pop culture things because Kevin got me thinking.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, you don't talk football at home.
He makes me nervous with this stuff.
Well, so that means
all of us.
it makes everybody nervous. All right, so last movie you saw,
At the movie theater.
or big name movie you could have
At the movie theater is perfect because
let's go at the movie theater.
I can't even remember last.
That's what I was going to say.
That's what I was hoping. I was hoping for like Jaws or Rocky or something.
Back to the Future.
Friday, 1985.
Hey, I lived with a head high school football coach my whole entire life. I'm telling you, that would be. I think Hoosiers might be his answer.
Yeah, it's usually something like if I see a rerun of Rocky or something. Fired up, but other than that.
What's your favorite song that you have to listen to because your team puts it on every day, but you kind of find yourself liking it in spite of yourself?
Titles of these songs I've never.
We ready.
Just like
All right. Well, know, I just want to.
The man just knows what pumps him up. All right.
Yep.
I want to know, Kevin, if there's any words on that paper. There's just drawings over there.
Oh, there's lots of numbers and symbols, but for the last half an hour, there's definitely wagon wheels with all kinds of spokes going on over here. Yeah, I appreciate that, Coach.
It's like a beautiful mind.
He's got written down about 50 times when Judge Wapner comes on.
Sometimes Kevin Ricka with
There's a
capital
movie
R
reference
sometimes.
for you, right?
Yeah, I like it.
All right.
Until next Tuesday, when we will be back to preview the first round of the WCAC football playoffs. We'll have more updates on all the other programs. We're hoping to be joined by Coach Malloy from Bishop McNamara to give us a little insight into some of the programs he's faced as they face off in the playoffs. And we'll just be at it, having another fun week of amazing WCAC action.
I mean, how cool has this been? Now we have Coach Malloy coming next week. We've had 4 WCAC guys. I mean, having Coach Stefanelli in the basement, a top 20 high school football coach in the nation, taking his time out on their bye week. This is the stuff, man. Hey, it's been awesome getting to know you tonight, Coach, and we are really looking forward to getting to know you a little bit better as we move on and having you back again. And as this unfolds and as this grows, thanks for being a part of it. We really appreciate it.
Absolutely. I love what you guys are doing. It's great to have you guys out here promoting the WCAC. I agree. It is the best league and multiple sports in the nation.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely.
You know, it is great. It's great what you guys are doing. It's great for the kids and all the fans out there to have you guys out there promoting it.
Appreciate it, Coach.
He's Matt the Real Deal Seal. He's Tim Strachan.
No, Coach, thank you so much for coming. Good luck the rest of the way, except when you play Dematha. No, I'm just kidding. Stay healthy. Stay healthy.
Yeah, stay healthy.
Stay healthy, and really appreciate you and your program, what you've been doing out there, and for coming down here and enduring this for a half hour or so. Appreciate it, and love to have you back.
Have you binged any TV shows recently in the last year or so?
No.
DVR?
He watches film.
Yeah, I got a show for you. It's called I Coach in the
film,
WCAC, and if I'm looking at a screen, there's going to be ball on it.
And I'm pretty sure if he's watching anything on TV, it's whatever his wife says. Sit down next
Well,
to me
exactly.
and watch.
What is that show?
Yeah, she goes upstairs.
Okay, all right. Fair enough. Well,
She's learned already, huh? Forget
Don't
it.
even bother.
See you in late November, right?
He's Kevin Ricka.
Hey, thanks, everyone. Appreciate everyone checking us out tonight, and good luck to all the kids. And like I said, all you kids, stay healthy these next couple of weeks. Enjoy it.
I'm Ken Marangolo. On behalf of First Amendment Sports, this was the WCAC Spectacular.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for coming in.
Appreciate
Thanks,
you guys.
Coach.